Assalamu alaikum, distinguished students. Mr. Adi is back again in another lesson, which is called Comparatives and Superlatives in Sunrise 12. And this is also Unit 1. Let's take a look and talk about it together. If you have any ideas about it, you have studied comparative and superlative in the other grades, 11 grades and 10 grades. You have probably studied this one and you have some ideas about it, but we will be covering and explaining the entire and the whole and in detail together today. Okay, comparative and superlative. There are some key tips. Let's talk about it together, and then we will get to do a lot of exercises and to put it into practice so that we can master this piece of grammar, this part of grammar, let's say. So how to know if it is superlative or comparative, this part, this table is very, very important. Please take notes while we are getting along. We're getting to the points, okay? First point here, first point, comparative. We usually add ER to one-syllable words to make comparatives. So when we have one-syllable word, one-syllable adjective, we add ER. Okay, we'll get to more detail about this one later. Just let's take a few tips together, talk about a few tips. And we usually add EST to one-syllable adjectives to make it superlative. Comparative, superlative. Comparative means comparing two things. So we need two things here to compare. Okay? We need two things to compare. But superlative means in a group we're talking about one thing. Okay? In a group we're talking about one thing. We call it superlative. Superlative is not comparing two things. It's about talking about one thing in a group of something, in a group of things. Number two, we usually add more or less, okay? More or less, and then, the word than, to one-syllable words to make it comparative. To more than one-syllable words, okay? More than one-syllable words, not one syllable, more than one syllable. We'll talk about syllable and what syllable in a moment. But here, we usually add most or least to more than one-syllable words to make superlative. To make superlative. Okay? Tip number 3. Than or from is used after the blank, after the gap. In comparative, we use than or from. But here in superlative, we use the before the blank. Before the gap, we use the. Okay. Tip number 3. Tip number 4. When the following words are used before the gap. Look at here. Way, if we use the word way, far, a lot, a little, much, we use these with comparative. We use these with comparative. For example, way better. Okay? A lot better, a little better, much better. We use it with comparative. And we use it with linking verbs. Linking verbs are also used with. So for example, get better, get happier, get bigger, get smaller, look bigger, for example. So we use it like this: seem, appear, become. We use it. And we use in. When in is used twice, we use comparative. When the word in used twice, we use comparative. But when the word in used once, we use superlative. Okay? Now let's take a look. Okay? let's take a look. So first of all, we have adjective, okay? Okay? And then we have comparative. And then we have superlative, okay? And then we have superlative. So for example, if we have adjective here, let's take a look, take one example here. So for example, the word for one syllable words, one syllable adjectives. Okay, how do you know it's one syllable? Let's take one word as an example. For example, clean. Or, for example, let's take clean as an example. Okay, here, take a look. So since we have the word clean, look at here, we have vowels. Do you know the vowels? The vowels are these. The vowels are these. O, E, I, U, A. So we have this one. These are the vowels. So we are talking about vowel sounds. So here, for example, the word clean, does it have one syllable or two syllables? Or the word beautiful. Beautiful. Or the word boring, let's say. Is it one syllable or two syllable? Or the word expensive. Let's take this one as an example. Expensive. Expensive. So in this case, let's take a look. We use it this way. Clean, beautiful, boring. How many vowels do we have here? We have two vowels. But how many vowel sound do we have? We only have one vowel sound. So we are talking about vowel sound. If we have one vowel sound, it's one syllable. One syllable. What about if we have more than one vowel sound? Here we have two vowel letters, but they make one sound, which is E, clean. Okay, it makes E sound. But here, look at here. We have one syllable here, beautiful, 1, 2, 3. Since they are all together and followed by each other, in this case, we count it as one syllable here. And then we have another syllable, 2 syllable, and then we have another syllable, 3 syllable, okay? So this word is 3 syllable words, 3 syllable adjective. Boring, 1 syllable, 2 syllable. Why? Because they are not followed by each other, so we can count both of them, okay? We can count both of them. So in this case, it's 2 syllable words. Expensive. First of all, E is not pronounced, we don't count it. Okay? Expense. So we have one E here, 1 syllable, E. Another E here, 1 syllable. And I is also vowel, so 3 syllables. We have 3 syllables. So now we talked about syllables. How do you know it's 1 syllable or 2 syllable? Okay. Now let's come to talk about, this one is about the syllables. Okay. So when it's one syllable adjective, we add ER to comparative and EST to superlative, okay? When it's one syllable adjective. What about when it's more than one syllable adjective for 2 plus syllable, we add more here, and then we add most here. We add more or less. We add most or least here, okay? And one more thing to take it into consideration, when we have comparative, it's always followed by than. We have the word than. Not always, it often followed by than. When we have superlative, they are always have the word the in front of it. So we use the here. Let's take one example here, two examples, let's say. So for example, we have the word clean as an adjective. We have the word small as an adjective. Okay, we have the word attractive, or we have the word difficult. Sorry, difficult. Okay, we have the word difficult. Difficult, attractive and difficult. Or difficult. Okay, so this one, for example, clean or small in this case, how do you say it? Is it cleaner or more clean? Must be cleaner. Why? Because it's one syllable. How do you know it's one syllable? It's one vowel sound. There are two letters, but one vowel sound. Small, one syllable. Smaller. Smaller what? Smaller than, cleaner than. We use it than, of course. But here, what do we say? The most clean? No, the cleanest. The cleanest, okay? Or you can say the smallest. Okay? We can say the smallest or the cleanest. Okay? Sorry. We have another word here. Attractive and difficult. Let's see. One syllable here. One syllable here. One syllable here. So more than one. It must be more and most. And one syllable. So more than one syllable. We use more and most. So in this case we say more attractive than, or more difficult than. So we use than, more difficult than, more attractive than. And for here, we say most or least. The most or the least attractive. Okay, we can say the most or the least attractive. So this the is mandatory. You have to put the. Okay, so we use it this way. Or difficult, the most or the least difficult. The most or the least difficult, okay? Let's get back to the spelling rules, okay? We have some spelling rules here. Here we have some spelling rules. These are also important when it comes to spelling rules. Tip number one. Tip number one, when we have a word, when a word ends in an E we add R to make it comparative, and ST to make it superlative for one syllable adjectives. We are talking about one syllable here. Examples are as follows. So for example, we have nice here, brave, safe, large, close. So in this case, we say nicer, we just add R here, not ER, because E is already there. So we say nicer, braver, safer, larger, and closer. Okay. And then here, we add ST, as we said here. Take this note, it is important. We add ST here. So for example, we say nicest, bravest, safest, largest, closest. Okay? We use it this way. When we have E ending, we just add R to make it comparative and add ST to make it superlative. Okay? This is tip number 1. Tip number 2. Tip number 2. When a word ends with consonant, vowel, consonant, these are the vowel ones. Consonant, vowel, consonant, we double the last consonant, then we add ER to make it comparative and EST to make it superlative. So look at here, the word hot ends in CVC, consonant, vowel, consonant, and this one is vowel, 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 vowel. So before the last letter is vowel, in this case we double the last letter. So for example, hot becomes double T, then ER, hotter. Big, double G, then ER, bigger. Okay? Fatter, wetter, thinner. So don't forget, since it's comparative, they are always followed by the word than. And here, since we have superlative, we need a the before them. If we don't have that would be incorrect. So double T, EST, double G, EST. Why? Because we have vowel before the last letter. So when we have vowel before the last letter, we double the last letter or double the last consonant. Then we add ER to make it comparative and EST to make it superlative. Okay? Another tip, tip number 3, another tip which is also important when we have Y-ending adjectives. When we have an adjective that ends in Y, we change Y to I, then add ER to make it comparative, and EST to make it superlative. So let's take a look at the examples. So for example here, we have busy, easy, busy, pretty, happy, lazy. In this case, they're ended in Y, okay? In this case, we change it to I, okay? And then we add ER to make it comparative. And then, of course, we need than. And then easiest, busiest, prettiest, happiest, laziest. In this case, we also change it, then we add EST. The easiest question, the busiest street, the prettiest girl, the happiest girl, man, the happiest person, happiest student. In this case, we can say it this way. Okay, tip number 4. When a word is more than one syllable, we just talked about, we said more than one syllable word, so we talked about syllable. More than one syllable, we add more or less to make it comparative, and most or least to make it superlative. So look at here. Is it one syllable or two or more than one? So here we have one syllable here, 2, 3. That means this one is more than one syllable words. So in this case, we don't use ER and most. We don't use ER and EST. In this case, we use more, most, less, least. Okay, expensive, different, difficult, comfortable. So we say more, less, beautiful than. Okay, more, less, expensive than. More, less, different than. More, less, comfortable than. We can use either more or less. And for superlative, the most, the least, the most expensive, the least different. So we use this way since they are more than two syllable words or adjectives, let's say. Okay? Tip number 5. The following are irregular adjectives when it comes to English, we always have exceptions. So not all the adjectives are formed this way that we talked about. So some of the adjectives are different. Let's take a look. You need to memorize them and pay a special attention to it, or pay very careful attention to it, which we say bad, badly. So bad becomes worse, worse than, worse. Be careful, not worst, worse, worse than. To change it to superlative, the worst. Good or well, both of them would be better, better than, and then the other one would be the best. Little, less, the least, many, more, the most, far, farther, the farthest. Okay, we use it this way. Why? These are irregular ones, okay? So you need to memorize them, and please take notes for this one. We say bad or badly becomes worse in comparative and worst in superlative. And we said good and well, both of them would be very good, better in comparative, and the best in superlative. Little and less and the least, many, more, the most, and far, farther, the farthest. We use it this way, okay? Tip number 6. The following are one-syllable words, adjectives. The following words are one-syllable adjectives. Okay, adjectives. But can be used in different ways. Okay, in different ways. So for example, we have simple, clever, narrow, quiet, friendly, can be used in both forms, okay? Can be used in both forms. So we can say more simple, and we can also say more simpler, sorry. But we never say more simpler. That would be wrong, okay? Be careful. We say more simple or simpler. The most simple, simplest. We can use it in both ways. Clever, cleverer, more clever. The most clever, the cleverest. We can use these in different ways. In two different ways, we can use it for both. Narrow, more narrow, narrower, and the most narrow and the narrowest. Quiet, more quiet, quieter, the most quiet and the quietest. Friendly, more friendly, friendlier, the most friendly, the friendliest. We can use it this way. Tip number 7. The adverbs that are ended in ly, we add more and less to make it comparative, and we add most or least to make it superlative. Why? Because they become more than one syllable adjectives. They become more than one syllable word. It becomes adverb, here in this case, not adjective. Adverb. So, adverbs, we never use er or est. We use more or less, most or least. So quickly, we say, no, we don't say quicklier in English, we say more quickly or less quickly. For example, I did the exam more quickly than the last time. Okay, most, least, quickly. Slowly. For example, she eats slowly, but the other one, she eats more slowly. Or something like that. We can give as many examples as possible. When it comes to this one, loud, loudly, more loud, less loudly. We can use this way, most or least loudly. Easy, we can use it easily, more or less, less easily. But since we have ly, we use it this way. If we don't have ly, we don't use more like this. For example, the word easy, easy becomes easier, easiest, okay? The word easy, this one is adjective, but when we change it to adverb, easily becomes more easily, or less easily, and here becomes most easily or least easily. Okay, why? Because it's adverb. So in adverb form, we use it this way. Okay, there's another thing, there's another part when it comes to comparative, which we use as. We use as like this, and we use it with adjective, not comparative, neither superlative. We use it with adjective. So as could be first name, the rule, could be is, are, was, were, or could be not, and then the other as, and then next name. So for example, Adam is not as smart. So as smart, not as smarter, that would be wrong. Not as smartest, that would also be wrong. Why? Because with as, we only use adjective. Okay, with as, we only use adjective. For example, I ran as quickly as I could. Here's adverb. Okay? And Lana is as beautiful as Anne. He's as adjective. So in this case, when we use the word as, it doesn't matter whether this one is or was, or are, or am, or anything. Any verb B's, we can use it like this. What matters is, this one is matters. For example, when it comes to as, we don't say smarter, we don't say quickly or more quickly, we don't say more beautiful, we just use the adjective itself. Okay, now let's come to some common mistakes. Get your notebook, please. Get your notebook, keep writing some notes. Take some notes here. These are some common mistakes that most of the students have made in Wizari exam, or let's say national exams. Make sure to keep an eye on this because it is important. Some common mistakes when it comes to comparative and superlative. So more expensive than, it's correct. More expensive than, this one is correct. But what's not correct is expensiver. That's not correct. That's wrong. Why? Because expensive is two-syllable adjective, and with two-syllable adjective, we never add er to make it comparative. We just add more or less to make it comparative. Okay, the more expensive. Do you think is this one correct? This one looks correct, but it's not. We don't use the with comparative. The, we never use it with comparative. So it must be more expensive than, not the. That's also incorrect, wrong. What about some irregular ones? We have some irregular common mistakes when it comes to comparative and superlatives. So for example, better than, correct. Worse than, correct. This one, we don't have any problem. But gooder, we never have this one in English. Weller than, we never have it. Badder, never have it. We never have those. Badly than, badly is adverb. We're talking about comparative with than. It could be than, it could be from, as we talked about at the beginning. From or than. The goodest, that's absolutely wrong. And the baddest, they are all wrong. We don't use it this way. And C, the most difficult. The most difficult is correct. But can we say it most difficult than? No. Most with than, they never go together. We don't use most with than. The most difficult test. The most is correct, but we don't say difficult test. So EST or ER and more together, they don't come together. EST and most don't come together as well. So you either add one. You can say the most difficult, but you can say the easiest in this case. Okay, these are some common mistakes that we talked about. I hope you got benefit from it, and I hope you took notes for this. Okay, now let's put it into practice. Practice time. Practice always makes perfect person. So if you want to be perfect, if you not want to make any mistakes in the future, hopefully in this part of grammar, be with me, let's practice, let's put it into practice, because practice makes perfect. The more examples, the more exercises you do, the less mistake you would make in the future or in exam. Okay, this one is from 2022-2023 first term. This one is from national exam, Wizari exam question 2023. So this is the latest question so far. I have three brothers, Bill and Tom is... So which one do you think is the right answer? Which one do you think is the right answer? So for example, I have three brothers, Bill is the youngest and Tom is the oldest. Bill is the youngest, Tom is the oldest. Do you think the first one is correct? Let's see. B, Bill is younger. So we said when we use younger, we need the word than. Where's than or from? We don't have it. That's incorrect. Bill is more older than. Do we use more with older? No. Why? Because old is one syllable adjective. We just use ER. We don't use more with it. That's wrong. The oldest, the most youngest. Do we use the most youngest in English? No. That's wrong. So the correct answer would be A. In exam, you can do it this way. For example, take a look. Which one do you think is wrong and completely wrong? And it's a common mistake. So take a look. More older, we never have it this way. Wrong. Most youngest, wrong. The younger, in this one, you need to be aware of it, which we need a than here. So since we don't have than, that's incorrect. Otherwise, it would have been correct. So A is the correct answer. Okay, let's go to number 2, reading, watching TV. This one is 2022-2023 second term exam. Question 20. Okay, which one do you think is the right answer? I'll give you some time. I want you to do it. Which one do you think is the right answer here? Reading, watching. First, let's see which one is completely wrong, which one is incorrect. Okay, this one, do you think is correct? It's not. Why? We don't say more much, we say much more. Much more expensive, not more much. So the order is different. Okay, not only the order. Yeah, only the order here is different, so it's wrong. Okay, do you think this one is correct? See, the most interesting than. Do we say most and than together? No. Okay, first try to spot the mistake there. Which one is the wrong answer? Not choosing the right answer right away. That's not a very good thing. Choose which one is wrong. The less. Do we use the less? Do we use the in English? The less? No. We don't use the when it comes to comparative. No. So in this case, reading is more interesting than watching TV. This one is the right answer. Okay, we use it like this. Number 3, nowadays she talks with the students she did before. 2021-2022 second term question. I want you to do it. Which one do you think is correct? Nowadays she talks with the students she did before. This one is a bit tricky. Be careful. Okay, first of all, which one do you think is completely wrong? Much well than. Well is adverb. What is comparative form of well? Is better. So that's wrong completely. Okay, do you think much better than is correct? Yes, we say much better than. This is correct. Do we say a lot quieter than is correct? Yes, we can say it. So both of them, A and B, are correct. A and B are correct. Number 4, which expresses the correct imperative sentence? Number 4, which one do you think expresses the correct comparative sentence? Okay, which one do you think is correct? 2020, 2021, second term exam. Which one do you think is the correct form? Let's take a look. The cheapest, this one is correct. Much more, we say, not much most. That's wrong. We say much, a lot, way, far. We use it with comparative. Far better, far more expensive, much more expensive, a lot more expensive. We use this way. But we don't say much most expensive. Be careful about this. So that's wrong. the least expensive, a lot more expensive. This makes sense, right? A lot more expensive also makes sense. The most expensive makes sense, but a lot more cheap. Do we use more with cheap? Cheap, is it one syllable adjective or two? It makes one sound. EA makes one sound. The word clean, we talked about clean, one sound. So we say cleaner, cheaper. Do we say more clean or more cheap? No, that's wrong. The most expensive, much expensive. Much expensive. We said much, we use it with comparative. We say much more expensive. So that means this one is also wrong. The right answer would be this one. Okay, the right answer would be this one. Let's do some more exercises on this 2020 or 2019 question. Let's see, this one I think is a bit easier than the rest or the previous ones. My country is the spot of land in the whole world. In the whole world. Let's take a look. Do we have than, from, the in the sentence? If we have than, we said we use it with superlative. If we have the, it's superlative. If we have than, we use it with comparative. So the is superlative. Let's see which one is superlative. Most is superlative. Beautiful is adjective. Beautifuler is comparative. More beautiful is also comparative. So most beautiful. My country is the most beautiful spot of land in the whole world. Okay, number 7. My last birthday was day I've ever had. Okay. Let's take a look. Let's use a trick here. So if you see the word ever, that means it's superlative. If you see the word the, that means it's superlative. Okay? Ever is superlative. So which one do you think is correct? My birthday was day I've ever had. Worse than, that's comparative, wrong. Baddest, we never have baddest in English, that's also wrong. Better than, that's comparative, the worst. My birthday was the worst day I've ever had. Number 8, do you know life in this area is live in small villages? Which one do you think is correct? Live in this area. So if you see that we have live in this area and live the other area, so that means it's comparing two things. Differ than, more different, we don't have different in English, more different from, most, that's wrong, most difficult, most different, more different from. Live in small villages, or more difficult, more different. So we can use more different. Why we say more? Because this is two-syllable adjectives. Number 9. Jason is news presenter on TV. Which one do you think is correct? Jason is news presenter on TV. So do you think we have comparative? Do we have from, more, much, a lot? We don't have those. Than, we don't have those. So that means it is not comparative, it's superlative. More talkative. Jason is the more talkative. Talkative who? Talkative than somebody. So that means it's wrong. More talkative, that's also wrong. The most talkative, the most talkativist. We don't use it this way. We said most and EST never come together, so we say the most talkative, okay? Number 10, we all want a live than before. Okay, so which one do you think is correct? We said you can first check if there's than, a lot, better, those kind of words. So than is here. Than is what? Superlative, right? No, come on. Than is not superlative. Than is comparative. Superlative is the. So we say best than, do we use it like this? Best than in English? We never say that. Better than, correct. Worse than, correct. Good than, that's wrong. So here it depends on the meaning in this case. We all want a better life than before. So not a worse life. It depends on the meaning. Both of them is correct, but it depends on the meaning. We need a better life Nobody needs worse life than before. So be careful about this question as well. Okay, number 11. I can't imagine finding a friend than you. Finding a friend than you. Since we have the word than, which one do you think is correct? Good? No. More good? We don't have it in English. Best? We don't have the word the. So it must be better than you. Better than you. Okay, number 12. I think learning Chinese language is French language. So look at here. Chinese language and French language. So this one we have two options here. That means it's comparative, comparing two things. More easy than, we don't say more with easy. We say easier. That's wrong. Why? Because it's one syllable word, one syllable adjective. Most difficult than, we don't say most and than together. That's also wrong. Difference than, with this one we need more, and there's no more here. So we say more difficult than. So which one is the right answer? D is the right answer. Okay? Yes. Number 13. Question 13. This year my school was than last year. Since we have the word than, so which one do you think is correct? We have the word than. You tell me. Is it B? No. C? Yes. D? Yes. But A? No. So neither A nor B. These two are correct, but check spelling. This one is about spelling rule. We said when we have Y, we change it to I, then ER. So that means this one is wrong and this one is the correct answer. I started to understand this subject than before. Again, we have the word than, right? So which one do you think is correct when we have the word than? We don't have weller in English. We have better in English. So this one is wrong, this one is wrong. We say better than. Okay? What about number 15? Our planet looks its real size from the moon. This one, it depends on the meaning as well. Looks smaller than, smaller is correct. Smaller than is correct, but the smallest, these two are wrong. Why? Because planet and the moon, in this case, two options, it's comparing. These two are correct, but which one is more correct? Smaller what? Where's than? We don't have the word than here, so it must be this one. We say than. Okay? So we've come to the end of today's lesson. We talked about comparative and superlative. Let's give a recap about what all comparative and superlatives are. So we said comparative, that means we compare two things together. For one syllable words, we add ER. For two syllable or more than two syllable words, we add more or less. With comparative, we always have the word than. We often have the word than, we use it, and it's usually after the blank, we use than. And for superlative, we use the before the blank, and also we use EST to make it comparative for one syllable words, and most for two syllable or more than two syllable words. Okay, we've come to the end of the lesson. We have practiced a lot, we have done a lot of exercises together, and hopefully this shed light on for you to understand this subject easier. And thank you very much for paying attention. I'll see you in the next video. Stay tuned. Thank you very much.